Topping Talks.
Let's see it.
105 hours a week, can't be beat. Welcome to Topping Talks. Topping Talks is a Topping Tribune production, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies and ExpressVPN. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, you're part of the 3.6% of Americans who still care about your privacy. If you're other than perfect, ExpressVPN can assist. Even though 96% of stats are mapped on the spot, ExpressVPN does give a 100% guarantee via the 30-day back-buying guarantee. Now, without further ado, today I'm proud to say I'm interviewing Jason Sallee, who is the Senior Manager of Incident Response at Ryan LLC. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Nick, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So why did you get back to the clock a couple of years? How did you first get into the Marines, and what does your career look like?
Well, I got in the Marines right out of high school. Again, didn't have a lot going on. Recruiter came around, said all the right things, got me hooked. I went in, I did ammunition explosive ordnance, stationed out at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Spent about 4 years out there doing that. A big part of my job was securing the ammunition supply point at Camp Lejeune, but we also got to play with all the military explosives, so we did all the fun stuff. We got the TNT and the C4 and the deck cord, and we got to play with all that, and then
Very cool.
see it get played with as well. So it was fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's good times.
That's pretty cool. What was your favorite thing to shoot or blow up with?
Oh man, I like the Mark 19 automatic grenade launcher. Mark
those are
19's
fun.
it's a cool toy.
Yeah.
I was one of the last groups to get to use the high explosive rounds in training. They put a ban out basically saying they could only be used in times of war because there was some issues with them sometimes blowing up in the gun. So
Well, that's not good news.
yeah. It wasn't a bad call, but I got to shoot the live one, so that was a
There
good
you
time.
go.
Yep.
So then after that, they just go to the boring chalk rounds?
Yep. Shooting chalk or smoke. Yep, absolutely. They did that. Like I said, right after I went through the next few cycles, didn't get to shoot it all, and then they moved into the chalk and safety rounds, if you will, except in times of war, of course. Then we had the Gulf stuff, and then the Afghanistan stuff come out. So lots of live rounds got fired. But
Oh, sure.
yeah, absolutely.
And then what was it like transitioning out? And then what was it like getting into IT?
Man, the transition out wasn't terrible. I had an injury, which what put me out. I would have probably stayed in and made a career of it, and had a lot less hearing probably. But getting out, I transitioned back to Texas. It wasn't very long before I found employment with GTE Telecom. Then I moved in. That of course got purchased by Verizon, became part of Verizon. Started off at the bottom. I was kind of on the frame, running wires back and forth. Ended up working the central office, so started working on the circuitry. These were the old days. We were still using ISDNs. We were still using dial-up modems, so dial-up service was still a thing. Started learning about the circuitry and all of the different types of data and the data transport backbone that we used, and then I was there for the birth of fiber to the curb.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was part of the push out to Keller, Texas. We did FiOS there. One of the vice presidents for the company lived there, so he volunteered his town to be the test bed for FiOS, which
nice of him.
good for him. Good to be king. So we went out, we put that in, and we had amazing success there. Now you see it all over the country. It's everywhere. So we got to see the birth of that. We built out the fiber optic networks. We started off back then. If you had an optical carrier, maybe a 48 channel optical carrier, you were pretty fancy. Now that's tiny. They're running OC 192s now is a pretty common size, and even bigger. So they've done a lot. It's really changed over time.
Did you always want to get into IT, or what inspired you to get a role over there?
Yeah, IT really's been a part of me since I was a kid. I mean, I came up kind of in the golden era of hackers, if you will. In the 80s, early 80s. We had the movies. We had War Games. We had Sneakers. We had some of the old classics. But also that was the kind of the birth of the home computer in that era. We started off on the TRS-80s, the Tandies, and then we started off with the Commodore 64s and the acoustic modems and. School we were doing Apple IIes. This is dating myself, obviously, but
do you remember what was your first computer?
My first computer was a Commodore 64. That was my first computer. Yeah.
Original.
And then, like I said, I had access to a TRS-80 that it was up and functional until around 2000. I want to say it was a label printer for a company,
really?
and it's at the end of its life. Yeah. Cool little computers. But we cut our teeth learning BASIC. and doing floppy disks that led immediately into the other side of it where we were doing war dialing and we were part of some of the big group efforts that were going on back then. Cult of the Dead Cow,
what was
Cult
that?
of the Screaming Electron. They were the big hacker groups. They were the hackers, the freakers, and the crackers were all developed in that age. That's when they came about. I grew up with the BBSs, the bulletin board services, and then or BBSs rather, and then moved into the age of the internet. Internet really was kind of born during my lifetime, so I got to see that and be a part of that. So that was really cool. It was a really neat experience getting to grow up during that age. I mean, Captain Crunch, Kevin Mitnick was getting his start.
I was gonna say, can you explain that for the folks at home? Because I know my parents have no idea what the Captain Crunch hack is.
Oh, Captain Crunch, yeah. So he was a phreaker. Phreakers are the phone and frequency hackers. Basically, they would take payphones and find ways to basically steal service, get free service out of them. And what Captain Crunch found was that the whistle that came free in a box of Captain Crunch whistled a perfect 2600 tone that the telecom used for establishing their service for free, basically. So it was a way for him to get a free service out of a payphone, which led eventually to electronic means of doing that. I've seen blue boxes. I've actually had guys that had blue boxes in the Marine Corps that I saw and got to play with. So I got to come in the early days and kind of the wild west and see the development of security from the beginning. Originally there was no information security. That wasn't a thing. You had a computer and they had a computer, and those computers, if you rang them up, would talk to each other. Yeah. They had some security on the BBSs, like you could, if you paid for a subscription, then you would get a password to get in through the front door. But I mean, they were rudimentary, security measures. They weren't what we see today at all.
There's no MFA back then.
Oh no, nobody knew what that term was going to be. Yeah,
No.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was. So I go a little ways back with it. My after the 64, I really didn't. I kind of took a hiatus when I got in the Marine Corps. Didn't really do a lot of computing, obviously, but I did get my first IBM clone PC during that time frame. So
nice.
I kind of stayed hungry and kind of stayed on the fringe a little bit, and then after doing telecom. I kept trying to break into the industry during while I was telecom, but it was still a burgeoning industry. There wasn't much going on. It was hard to get into. Most of the guys that were doing it were sysadmins and things like that. They weren't telecom guys, so it was a difficult time. And then after 10 years with Verizon, they got purchased by Bell Atlantic, and we pushed up to all of our jobs went to Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we went through a big layoff period. And it was also during the height of the housing market bubble crash. So I got to go back to school. I went to University of North Texas.
Nice.
Kind of reinvent myself.
Yeah.
So that was good.
What degree do you specialize in?
I kind of came in a non-traditional route. I did emergency administration and planning. EADP is the program name. And I got a Bachelor of Science in that with a minor in criminal justice. And then I did specific work in crime scene investigation and private investigation. While I was there, I got certifications in those. And so I focused on business continuity and continuity of operations, really focused on the business side of it. And that kind of opened some doors for me later on. I ended up going from there, graduated from school. I went into some bodyguard work. I worked for a guy named Tom Hicks out of Dallas here. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good job. It was interesting. Bodyguard work's it's not as glamorous as what you see in the movies. It's not as glamorous as what you read about, but it's still a position of trust. You're literally watching over somebody while they sleep, driving them to work, making sure that they get where they're going safe. So there was certainly a security aspect of it. We added in some digital security around it. We maintained his home network. We made sure that, we were doing reputation checks out on the internet, looking for threats, doing things like that. So there was still some carryover value in it, but it honestly wasn't a career that I wanted to stick with. It's definitely not family friendly. If you want a family, you probably shouldn't go into bodyguard work. You're better off if you're young and single and can go travel around. But
I'm guessing there's not a lot of work-life balance when you're a bodyguard.
Not really, no. No, you're definitely an employee, and you're kind of on call whenever needed. So it was there's some carryover into the security world, but not quite as much.
Plus, nice thing about IT these days, you can work remotely, so
Yes,
you can work darn near anywhere.
Yes.
Whereas bodyguard, you got to physically be on premises.
Absolutely.
Going to events.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Any
absolutely.
interesting stories about that you could share? Or I know, obviously, less bombastic stories is better. You don't want to be like Hollywood. So it's a good thing when nothing happens. Just like cybersecurity, it's like it's good when nothing happens, but
yeah. There's, honestly, it was pretty tame for the most part. Most of the big stuff that went on around Tom was kind of said and done by that point. He was, obviously he's a prominent businessman, so he's a potential target. So again, a lot of our stuff was preemptive and kind of taking away those avenues.
Yep.
But never really had any kind of big incidents or anything. Luckily, it was fairly benign. There were times where we had some oddball events and things where I guess odd people tend to seek out these individuals, these cult, these personalities and attached to them. So we dealt with some kind of funny things there, but again, nothing real fancy. I'd like to be able to blow it up and make a big story out of
right.
it, but it's unfortunately not that interesting.
Okay. And what was it like going back into the kind of corporate America after the bodyguard?
Man, it was great. Honestly, I finally got to break into information security. I had an opportunity to go to HCSC Blue Cross Blue Shield, based out of Chicago, but they operate about 4 or 5 states, including Texas. So they had an opportunity in Richardson. I came on as an analyst, just an analyst one, green as could be. They were probably the most mature security program that I've been a part of, honestly. They really had a fantastically well-developed program. They covered everything in-house. They had in-house forensics, in-house pen testers. We had our own SIM. We were running an ArcSight SIM, which that thing's a beast. Hopefully you don't ever have to deal with one of those. We did IDS, we did all the endpoint detection stuff, all the antivirus stuff. Everything was in house, and so it was all documented out. It was beautifully written. It was fantastic. It really was a mature organization as far as security goes, and it was great to get a chance to get in there and learn in that environment because it cut my teeth to the proper way of doing things very early on. I didn't have to go through a lot of growing pains to get to that. So I had some really great mentors there. They also believed in me enough to send me to SANS for the first time.
Really?
I'm a big believer in SANS. The SANS product, to me, is a good product. They teach you functional cybersecurity skills. You take your class. You're there for a week. They don't teach to the certification per se. There is a certification at the end of it that's attached. You can get, of course. They're a company that like to make money.
Of course.
But the primary focus of the class, though, is to teach you a functional skill. So when you walk out, you can actually do that job or do those skills, I guess, in your job. So I've been to several of them since then. I've been through the incident handler. I've been through forensics. I've been through the pen test. Every one of them I've been able to bring back real-world experience, apply it to the company I'm working for, and put it to work. So they're pricey, but they're good. They hold their value.
So. What was your biggest takeaway or the course that had the biggest impact on you that you feel?
Oh, forensics by far.
Really?
I'm kind of a forensics. I took some crime scene investigation while I was in college, so that really got me into the idea of actual forensic science and learning how to do forensics from the perspective of, this is the legal case, this is the legal side of it. You have to preserve the evidence. Really learn the rudimentary skills of how to be a forensic scientist. And then adding the digital forensics to it was just the cat's meow. It really made everything work out right. I love getting in and looking through the computer and finding everything that's in there. Literally, it's all there. You just have to know where to look and how to extract it. So that one for me had probably the biggest impact as far as personal satisfaction. Job satisfaction, probably incident handler, certified incident handler, GCIH. That one related more to my job at the time I took it, so I took a lot more things back with me directly into that job and applied them directly at that point. So it was a good course, and again, you're being taught by some of the world's best. Honestly, Tim Medine, I believe is his name, came up with Kerber roasting, was my instructor for GPen. So my penetration test class was taught by the guy that brought Kerber roasting to the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It was a ton of fun. Great guy too, fantastic guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, he's a good one.
That's pretty neat.
Yep, good guy.
And then where'd you go after that?
So I spent some time at HCSC. I spent about 2 years there, and then an opportunity came open in the town I live in, and it was with a bank, kind of a smaller bank. We were in just a couple of states, a few hundred locations. Nothing massive, but the job was literally a block from my house.
Oh, really?
First time in my adult life I ever got to actually work, close to home.
Yeah.
I've always been a commuter. And it was also a position change. It was up to an engineer position. Nice. So I applied. Really cool thing about that job was the CISO of that company was really forward thinking. He brought me on a kind of a contingency. He wanted a CISSP. I wasn't currently a CISSP, so he said, "Hey, if you can get it within a year, then we'll go ahead and bring you on." So they brought me in. Went, took the CISSP class, took the course, then took the test, and I passed it on the first go. So
nice.
That worked out really well for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of led to kind of a pattern for me of when I negotiate for a new position. When we get down to the fact that they want to bring me on, and we start talking about compensation, things like that, then bring into the conversation, hey. I'm willing to take a little less compensation in return for an opportunity maybe to get a class, whether it's SANS or some other sort of class or something to help benefit myself and as well as benefit the company as well. I think that's a big part of the success that I've been able to find is by continually growing, using things like certifications, continuing education, things like that to continue to grow as well as add experience. I think the combination of the three is really kind of the sweet spot in the industry for keeping the most opportunities in front of you. Certainly plenty of people out there that are very, very skilled that have never seen a college. There's lots of people out there that don't have certs that are amazing at their jobs. So it's not the only way, but it's just one I would recommend for somebody getting into the field that doesn't really have a plan yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also the fun thing about cybersecurity. There's more innovations in the product category than pretty much anything else.
Absolutely.
It's like every year, rack mount servers might get a little bit faster, a little bit more magical, but there's going to be a lot more, infinitely more variables in cybersecurity with solutions and threats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the threatscapes, they're always ahead of us. There's a fun meme that's running around out there, and it shows the difference between the day of a cybersecurity professional and the day of a hacker. And like a cybersecurity professional has like coffee, meeting with the boss, meeting with the team, this, that, maybe an hour or two of cybersecurity, and then hacker is, gain access, remove data, monetize.
Yeah.
Wash and repeat. Wash and repeat. So we're always playing catch up. So yeah, there's always going to be innovations where we're trying to catch up with what the bad guys are doing new that's out there. So.
Oh, absolutely. And then what was it like going from working in a healthcare environment to the financial environment? I mean, both are very heavily regulated, and both of them have pretty big targets in terms of malicious actors. Yeah.
I mean, it's been really cool because I've had the opportunity to work in some really interesting verticals. I've done insurance/healthcare, then moved over to financial. I've even jumped over into legal and then back to financial. Kind of moved around a little bit, but the verticals themselves are very similar in a lot of ways as far as regulations go. I mean. Obviously, different regulatory bodies, different some peculiarities about HIPAA versus FINRA or some of the other stuff. But all in all, it's compliance is compliance. You're always going to have rules you have to follow, and you're always going to be trying to meet those requirements, and fit into the picture as your the people that you work with, whether it's your
couple of your peers, or
you got your peers, you got your government, you've got your clients. Clients are big enough now that they've got enough money and clout that they can walk in and say, "Hey, if you want our business, then you're going to have to comply to our standards."
True.
Which is great for us because it keeps us very firmly employed.
Absolutely.
As long as they're able to make that kind of statement, then it kind of forces companies to come along with it. Where I'm at now, for instance, is we're doing kind of that to some of our peers as well. We're telling them, hey, these are our compliance requirements if you want to be our customer.
Yeah.
But then the flip side is we have customers that come to us and say, well, if you want to be our tax provider, then you're going to have to you have to meet these certain compliance as well. So I think we all kind of sharpen each other and make it it's almost a synergy that builds on both sides of the coin. You've got drive from both directions, and that's great if you're in the security industry. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm sure you're probably very aware.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say the good age-old saying, steel sharpens steel.
Absolutely.
Because, one of the biggest threat factors is the supply chain and the vendors, suppliers. It's like, you got to have tip-top security. You might not look big on paper, but what if your client is, X, Y, Z, then, you might, to some, it might seem like you have a disproportionate amount of resource allocation to security tools and practices. But given the circumstance, it makes 110% sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, moving around in that environment is it's been good. I like the difference. I like the breadth and depth of what I've been able to learn and pull from those different environments because of their unique challenges and some of the things they have that are specific to their environment. It gives you a different perspective. Each time you go and learn a new perspective and get kind of a different flavor of it, I think that it increases your overall understanding of what the need for security is across the board. So it's been very nice to bounce around a little bit.
And out of curiosity, when you work in the financial institute, did you see more threat actors there than you were at the insurance healthcare provider? Or was it about the same? What was the experience like, or how did it differ?
Yeah, I would say the interesting thing about HCSC was that there seemed to be a lot of insider threat there for some reason.
Really?
And I'm not sure if that was just a function of the size of the company or the time that we were working. People weren't quite caught up with the idea that security really does see everything you do. Or maybe it was just their focus, that they were particularly focused in on the insider threat. So when I was there, we had a lot of insider threat stuff. Like we found some really weird stuff going on and were able to come in and pick it up.
Really?
We had a guy that was outsourcing his own job to China.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was cool. So we had some kind of strange things like that happened in that environment. On the financial side, though, I've been seeing a lot more external threats, and again, that may be a function of the times. We've seen the rise of the Advanced Persistent Threat Group. That's kind of I don't want to say it's newer. It's been around for a long time, but in relative terms, it's a newer concept of these nation state actors or these organized actors that are getting together and collectively attacking things. Your botnets, your things like that. So I've seen a lot more of that in the financial side, and a lot of times it's kind of script kiddie-ish, it's just somebody kind of knocking on the door, hey, I'm going to throw a SQL injection, and see if it triggers anything for you, or hey, I'm going to do some Google dorking and map out some stuff here.
Just do a little testing, see if there's any admin. It's like, oh, weird.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And so, and what's crazy is they still find those in the wild. I mean, it's insane to me in this day and age that we still find that, but we do. Luckily, we haven't had them.
Oh yeah.
But we've certainly had people that we've dealt with and talked to that are like, oh yeah, your printer's set for default. Maybe you need to do something about that network printer.
Oh, precisely.
Yeah, that's open out to the world.
People don't realize how easily you can traverse between the technologies. Like, well, I mean, it was a couple of years ago, but I mean, one of the biggest hacks was the Home Depot hack, where that's because someone was able to access the air conditioning unit.
Yes.
And traverse their way down the system and just go hog wild. It's like, yep, that one piece of hardware, and then there's a casino with a fish tank. People don't realize Internet of Things, it's all connected.
There was an interesting article about that I read a while back, and I want to say it was perhaps at one of the cons, maybe DEF CON or maybe it was Black Hat, but it was something along the title of my refrigerator hacked my toaster, or my toaster hacked my refrigerator.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting article about IoT and that whole environment. So there's some real fun stuff going on floating around that. They're fun reads a lot of times, even though they're kind of scary.
Oh yeah, it's like looking at network analytics. Wait a minute, why is my dryer pushing all this data to China?
You say that, but I literally have one of those robot vacuum / mopping machines that talks to China pretty regularly. I'm like, what? Why?
The data.
Why? Yeah. I'm like, I guess my house map's now in China, I guess.
Well, that's all I was gonna say. I think that's why they struck down the Amazon deal, because they want to buy iRobot, and I mean, technology-wise, it's brilliant. Because guess what? If you have every home's blueprints, well, all of a sudden you can say, hey, this couch will fit perfectly in your room. By the way, we know that.
Oh, nice.
Like, oh, yeah,
I hadn't considered that. That's an interesting idea for marketing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Targeted marketing. Wow. Really targeted marketing.
I mean, these days it'd probably be easier to make a list of what Amazon doesn't know about us.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. Privacy is pretty much dead, and anonymity is right there with it.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's getting more and more difficult.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
And I think you also said you did a little bit of teaching as well.
Yeah.
After you went to work in the financial industry for a little bit.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I worked for NCTC out of their Corinth location or Louisville location, both. A little bit of both.
And what's that for the folks who aren't local?
What's that now?
What's that for the folks at home, like my parents?
NCTC?
Yeah.
Oh, it's North Central Texas College.
Mm-hmm.
They're a junior college, so they teach to the associate level. I actually went there. I started off as a student because, again, I came in non-traditionally into the environment. What I started off with was, again, business continuity and disaster, operations, things like that. And I really felt like I needed to round out my education side of it with some cybersecurity. So I started taking some courses there, and quite frankly, I didn't like them.
Really?
I wasn't a fan, and so they were kind of in their infancy and starting off with cybersecurity. So I applied for their teaching position for the same classes the very next semester, and because I already had a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
So they brought me on, and I got to kind of help build their program out for their cybersecurity program. So I taught firewalls, and I taught intro to cybersecurity. And I stayed with them I think I was with them for 3 semesters before I started getting kind of tied up with work again. And, I felt like I wasn't able to give the students the attention that they deserved. It is kind of a consuming job. And when you're an adjunct, you're not really there for the money. It's not a money thing. It's there for the love of teaching. So I was really, trying to do the very best I could for the students. So we had some new instructors who had come on. The program had advanced some. We had some really great guys there. Oddly enough, I ended up working for the same company that one of the other instructors founded later on in my career.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did some work at an MSSP, and it originally was his company, and then it had sold to another group, and then they maintained the name and everything else. But I ended up working for his company after he had actually passed. He passed a few years ago. Good guy. But kind of touching back on NCTC. Getting to be a part of that program was really, really fun. One of the best ways I think to learn a subject or to really truly learn a subject is to teach somebody else who doesn't know that subject. The things that you know or that come naturally to you, they're not intuitive to somebody else. And so you have to really put yourself in their frame of mind and try to explain it to them in a way that they can understand it. And that was really fulfilling and a lot of fun. I would do teaching again. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But once I started running short on time, the right move was to move on and let somebody else come in and take over that position. And so we did, and they've gone up from there. Their program's now much more advanced. It's a lot better program than what it originally started with. And as the nature of all things, you start off with one direction and you end up in another, and it's usually better, hopefully.
That's awesome. You're able to lay the groundwork like that. It's a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I had a good relationship with them, and really enjoyed the program. It's something I wish actually UNT does have now. That's when I was there originally, they didn't have a cybersecurity program. Everything was generated towards video game design, which
oh, really?
I'm super glad I didn't go that direction. I just saw the layoff announcement from Microsoft this morning from their gamers. So
that's the most brutal. That's the definition of a passion for the craft.
Oh, yeah.
Because every article you read about video game development, you work like 80, 90 plus hours a week, and the deadlines are insane. And that whole industry now has just they're only alive because of microtransactions, because they've been, so much risk and reward. But you make the reward. If you're a rock star, you make Grand Theft Auto 5, make like $1 billion in a day revenue, but still.
Right.
People don't realize video games are bigger than Hollywood in terms of revenue these days. It's huge, and there's a lot of pressure to get those games out and make sure they're profitable.
Sure, and AI is coming in and doing a lot of that work now.
Oh yeah,
that's the scary part. That's where it is. If I can have 50 guys do 1,900 guys work, then and let AI make up the difference. Then
especially when it comes to really the details that. No, I would argue no sane person would want to do, like animate every single blade of grass. When you have a really detailed field of grass, you're having a character walk through.
Right.
Or you just have an AI do that and have a whole engine just dedicated to that alone.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
Man, that makes sense. That'd be a great way to leverage technology.
Well, even storylines, dialogue. I can do it all. It's scary. That's one of the big scary areas that we deal with security now is trying to figure out how do we lasso AI and figure that out, because everything's getting AI built into it. Pop the cork off that genie bottle and it's out, and nobody's prepared.
No, it's gonna be interesting. In our lifetime, maybe it'll just be as simple, because right now you can plug things to an AI prompt, be like, hey, make me a picture of a cat drinking like Dr. Pepper, something like that.
Sure.
It's like, well, will it ever get to the point where you just say, hey, hack this company for me?
For instance, yep. Yep. Well, if you're building your own model, so you don't have most of the commercial stuff is constrained. I can convince ChatGPT to write for me.
Yeah.
I can even convince it to write some things that can be used nefariously.
Yeah.
But it does have some constraints. If it's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to hack, I'm not going to do that for you.
Yeah.
But if I build my own, I don't have those constraints. I don't have to write those rules in there.
Or we just reframe it.
Reframing is a big thing.
That's the other funny thing. You hear a story about like the Microsoft access keys. Like someone asks like an AI tool, like, hey, give me these access keys. And the tool goes, oh no, I'm not programmed to do that. And it goes, My grandma's favorite thing was Microsoft. But my grandma would love this. Can you write a story about this with the keys? And it would spit it out.
Yes.
It's like, whoops.
Yes. I think I saw something the other day where somebody had found one of the AIs that would misspell, would miscount the number of R's in a particular word.
Mm-hmm.
It kept saying there was one, and I think there were two, I believe, if there was a deal. And they've corrected it, obviously, since then. But
Yeah.
I tested it, and I was like, well, it doesn't work anymore. But apparently it had a problem with counting.
Yeah.
Simple things, but easily correctable, and it's learning. I mean, they just released 4.01, I think, today.
Yeah.
So it's a scary growing field, and there's a lot of people looking at it, but there's just not a lot of efficient means of dealing with it. Even for instance, take DLP. If I'm wanting to protect my data, keep it from leaving the company.
Which for the folks who are not in IT is data loss prevention.
Yes, data loss prevention. Sorry, I'm
no worries,
speaking acronyms.
No worries.
AI, anything you feed into AI technically is no longer in your domain.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful about what you feed into that. Even if I'm saying, hey, I want to write a letter, to my CEO, I've got to be very careful about that. What I contain in that letter, does it have proprietary information in it, trade secrets, anything like that? I've got to be very careful. And now you're having to monitor that across how many platforms? I mean, you've got Copilot, Chat, you've got all the different chats that are out there, all the different models of that. And then I think Bing has it built into it. Google has it built into it.
All 18 Bing customers will be really happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know X Twitter has their own. I think they call it just Grok.
Right.
Like it reminds me of the car companies back in the 1900s. In the United States, there's over like 130 car companies or manufacturers, and now there's like realistically U.S. headquartered like 4 or 5.
Right. Yeah.
It's like it'll be an interesting race in terms of you got all this innovation. How many realistically are adapted by the public, and how many are really efficiently able to do their jobs to the consumer satisfaction?
Yeah.
But there's definitely an arms race right now where everyone wants to be the AI company.
Well, even CrowdStrike's trying to add AI into their SIM, which I think is a fantastic idea. I mean, if I could have a personalized version of an AI that was looking at my stuff and making correlations for me, and I could tell it just in plain language, hey, look for this, and if you see this, then do that. I mean, that kicks SOAR right in the teeth.
Oh, that's one of the biggest benefits AI is going to be all those rudimentary pain in the rear IT tasks that no one really loves doing. I mean, one of the best solutions back in the day, used to be Splunk.
Oh, yeah.
Great tool. Cisco, and then Cisco spent $28 billion for it. Okay. But, right. I mean, it was a great tool. And especially some of our clients used Splunk back in the day. However, resource intensive. Like one of our clients needed 3 full-time employees for that one software tool.
Sure.
Just to manage it.
Absolutely.
And now we can get that down to maybe one person or even just AI to do it.
Right.
And a fraction of the cost.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's going to be revolutionary. And that's a lot of people think AI is a pie in the sky. Like, what's a real direct correlation to saving company money? I mean, there are just very specific use cases where it's not just fun cat pictures. Those are very fun to make.
Sure.
But like, it's really cool to see the huge impact it could have on companies to make them even more secure and more accurate.
Yeah.
It's impressive to see how far it's come.
Oh yeah, yep, and in such a short amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Again, I came from the acoustic coupler days to AI now.
Yeah.
In a very short amount of time. That's spooky how fast it grows. It's exponential.
Oh, security is going to be a huge issue. I know we have all the big companies also trying to do the counterintelligence or the counter, trying to figure out, hey, is this AI video of a person real or not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The deepfake stuff. Oh yeah. That's and it's scary how accurate that is, and how much small of a sample they need of your video or your audio. That they need to fully replicate your voice, your intonation, your everything. I mean, it's spooky.
It's gone down to nothing. I mean, it used as recently as 24 months ago. I remember some articles saying how if you want to be able to replicate someone's voice, AI, you need about 2 hours of solid recording their data. Now you just need a couple minutes.
Right.
And with the videos, they're just getting so good. And granted, the things we see is dog crap. It's consumer. The stuff that's really out there.
Right.
I mean, nowadays you can have AI video where it looks so realistic. The only way that we currently, again, in terms of civilian knowledge, the only way we currently know it's not real video someone, it was Intel or another big tech company where they actually did analysis on the the speaker's face, and they were able to see like, oh yeah, we know this is AI only because you couldn't actually see the blood flow through their face.
Wow.
So you can see like all the vessels, everything. That's how they were able to tell it was not real because they didn't see that in the AI model then.
Wow.
That being said, maybe they'll be able to do that in the future.
Sure. Well, you just got to tell the AI model, hey, correct for this, please.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where just one video of a CEO or a government official could crash a stock, or he can It's huge.
Yeah,
it's a big threat.
Wait till I can build a video conference call with the CEO saying, "Hey, I'm doing a deal right now. I'm sitting in my conference room. Send me this money, wire it over.
Precisely.
Here's the code."
Yeah.
Spooky.
It's scary. It's a big threat, big opportunity.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I mean, the stuff on the internet's already, they already have parodies of it where like celebrities, they sound so real.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the Tom Cruise playing guitar one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, at a glance, it looks real.
Yep.
And it's just going to get better and better and better to the point of how will you really be able to know what is real, what is not.
Sure. Well, and you start talking about your intellectual property. How are you going to own it? If you, it's kind of like social media. If you put it on social media, it's public domain.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Now, if I appear in a video, if I appear in a movie, James Earl Jones recently passed. So, having James' voice stored by AI could replicate that for future generations, which, we've already got actors. I think Bruce Willis is one of the first big ones they talked about that has already sold his rights.
Oh, yeah, I think
his digital rights for the future.
I think Tom Hanks did too. There are a couple who, and again, to them, I mean, that's a pretty darn good ROI. They just get basically a commission check for existing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
not
obviously, for a lot of artists, a lot of hardcore actors, they think it's the antithesis. It's not creative, it's not human, it's not real.
Right.
And they hate it. So I understand that perspective as well.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where, I mean, I wonder if Hollywood will exist in 10, 20 years. It barely does. I mean, I joke about it a lot about them not being disconnected from reality. But instead of having one movie that appeals to a certain amount of percentage of Americans, what if you had unlimited customizable movies where it's just custom for every single end user and it's exactly how you want it?
Well, and unlimited sequels.
Yeah.
The actors don't get any older.
Well, they already have that. It's called the Fast and Furious series.
Well, sure, sure. But even it's had to evolve some. I mean,
I think I believe a little vernacular improper. You said evolve is a devolve, but I partially digress.
Fair. That's a fair use of the word. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's an interesting field. It's an interesting area, and finding ways to secure that is going to be a challenge probably for the next generation. I mean, I don't see how we're going to get our lasso around that for security for a long time because we're still facing the same problems with data loss prevention that we faced 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. They still exist today. I mean, all the false positives, all the problems going to get implemented and running. So it's going to be that way.
Oh, agree. It'll be an interesting threat and opportunity.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Like I say, I think our next generation, maybe next two generations of cybersecurity people will be talking about this and dealing with it.
I agree. And then where did you go after you're working in the financial industry or the bank you were working at?
So I went from the bank. I went into the legal field. I went into Baker Botts. Baker Botts is a 280 something year old law firm. I mean, these guys have been on forever. We did some of the original land grants when we seeded over from Mexico to the United States.
Really?
We did the insurance claim, I think, for the Lusitania during World War I when it was sunk. I mean, we really did some really interesting legal history in that business. And as a result of that, they've been through the Great Depression, they've been through wars, world wars, they've been through a lot of big events. So while I was there, for instance, was when COVID came about, and all of a sudden the world's tossed on its ear. Nobody's able to go into work, and they adapted to that. Luckily, we had some kind of visionary IT guys that were already there before that had made us basically fully remote capable without being fully remote at the time. We were still a traditional company in the sense that we were typically in office, 5 days a week, except for the information security team. We were all 100% remote even back then. We had already made that move, and it was being productive for us. So for us, it wasn't a big change, but the company handled it so very well because of their past experience with, pandemics. They were around for the 1918, Spanish flu. I mean, they were around for all of that.
Yeah.
And so they really handled that incident remarkably well as far as making sure that we had no layoffs. We had we had a few retirements, a couple of early retirements. They offered some packages and stuff to let people go ahead and go to reduce headcount, but they did it in such a way that it wasn't nobody was kind of maliciously let go. It wasn't just like, we got to protect ourselves, so get rid of all the little guys. Yeah. They took a top-down approach. The top end of the company took a bigger hit than the smaller end of the company, and they kept everybody on board. And we negotiated that very well. The the cybersecurity structure over there was really interesting, and it's really where I got to break my teeth into to CrowdStrike. One of my first jobs walking in the door, as soon as I got there, was like, "Hey, you're putting in CrowdStrike."
There you go.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. What's that?" So after I learned what it was, we successfully implemented it. It was painful. It was like every big implementation.
How many endpoints is that? I can't imagine.
I want to say that we had a couple of thousand endpoints. It wasn't, we didn't have a tremendous like data center presence. We had some data center stuff, a lot of individual user stuff, a lot of individual accounts. Made it really easy. Putting it on a laptop's not that hard.
Yeah.
Dealing with the server, with all some of the complications around a server, especially if it was SQL or anything like that, then that was difficult. There's some databases make for difficult times with endpoint detection, but we got to put in. It ran. That was again. It kind of made me a fanboy for CrowdStrike. I got to admit that. I think they do a fantastic job at EDR, their endpoint detection and response. To not throw the acronyms out, they're good. They're world class at finding malware or threats and comparing it. The crowd part of CrowdStrike is that they use their entire footprint as part of their business model for determining threats. So if they see this group over here with 1,000 instances of this particular behavior going on, and they determine that it's malicious, well, they apply that to their entire footprint. Say, hey, here's we saw it over here. We're going to apply it to all of y'all, so none of y'all get that. That's the crowd part of CrowdStrike, which is really cool. I think it was a good model to build off of. Their recent debacle aside, obviously that was not fun for anybody going through the recent upgrade problem that they had.
Yeah.
Or update problem they had. I guess it wasn't an upgrade; it was an update.
Downgrade. But
yeah, downgrade. Yeah. I've heard it called CrowdStruck.
Yeah, Y2K. But
yeah.
I always tell people I think it's still best of breed. We use it internally, love it. Proper reseller, valued reseller for them. But it's like, if it was a security-related incident, I think they'd legitimately have a chance at losing a lot of market share because it was not cybersecurity related and it was an outage. I think that was the only godsend in terms of, yes, their stock took a beating, but we have not yet seen a large number of people move away from it. Like the last fiscal quarter results just came out. They barely, but they did exceed expectations by all analysts, so they still hit their sales. They lost a lot of their pipeline. They did lose some sales, but overall, I think consumers haven't moved away from it dramatically like some thought they would have. And again, they still have some of the best people on the planet. They have a great team, great solution.
Yeah.
And with the side that one issue, granted, albeit a big issue, I mean, never had a single client complain about it. And it's just, a great solution. I think George, I think he knows what George knows what he's doing over there. Yeah.
It definitely was like I say, that was an unfortunate event for them and for everybody else that was impacted by it. I mean, obviously there was some definite financial impact across the industry on it.
Oh yeah.
I think Delta Airlines is the big 800-pound gorilla in the room that they're having to deal with because they lost a lot of revenue with grounded planes, things like that.
We'll see. By the time the video is rendered and uploaded, who knows? Maybe they'll settle that. But I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical just with the domino effect of. I don't know. So you've heard some people are saying Delta refused to any additional help when it was offered to them. And again, if this one domino goes down, I don't think any other security company will be in business long term.
Right.
Because it's just one of those things where you can have the best solution on the planet. There are some variables that will inevitably mean bad things will happen. It's just it's just like cybersecurity in general. I mean, if you have enough resource allocation, you'll break into any company or any government. It's just how much money, time, and resources do you want to spend to get that accomplishment? Oh, sure,
sure. Yeah, security.
There's no such thing as I always joke, I have the one 100% secure device on the whole block because it's a 1938 Royale, KMM typewriter. You can't hack into that.
Right.
But if it's electronic, it can be hacked.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, security is an illusion. Yeah. It is literally just a matter of risk reduction and creating yourself to be a difficult enough or expensive enough target that it's not worth pursuing.
Yep. Dissuade them.
Yep, absolutely. But CrowdStrike again became a big fan of theirs while working there. Got to work with some really fantastic people. They had some really, really top-notch people there, and I put about 4 years in with them. At the end of 4 years, I was kind of looking for some growth opportunities. I was pursuing a double master's degree. I was getting my MBA and a master science in cybersecurity. So I finally got my official cybersecurity credentials in my education now.
There you go.
but the opportunities there, it's such a good company that people didn't go anywhere. You know, people were frequently there for 30, 35, 36 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, full lifetime, full career at that same company. It was such a good company. And I was a little hungry still. You know, I felt like I had more to offer than just being an engineer. And I talked to you know, my management there about what are the directions I can go in, and really had that heart to heart with them. And they give me a very honest answer of, well, there's really not much place you can go. We're not really creating new positions. We're not really looking at movement. Management's not going anywhere, so there's not really a path upwards. You're just kind of where you're at. And I told them, well, if that's the nature of it, then I feel like that it's in my best interest to move on to another opportunity. And that opportunity came in form of where I'm at now, which is Ryan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Ryan is well. I say that. Let me rephrase that. I took an opportunity after them to go into a management role with an MSSP company for a short amount of time, a managed service security company and provider, and they were good people. I just don't know that they had the right implementation in place for what they were trying to pursue, or maybe they just had a divided house on what they were trying to pursue. So it just really wasn't the opportunity that I hoped it would be, and so. I took leave of them when they downsized. They shrunk down tremendously. They got out of the MSSP world entirely. Now they do cyber consultancy, which is fine. I mean, it's a great job. They got great people there. I'm still good friends with all of them. But the opportunity for Ryan also came about as well from that. So Ryan was, I came on as a security architect. They kind of realized pretty quickly that there was an opportunity there for me to do more. So I guess those are about 3 months, and they moved me up into a senior manager position and put me over a team. So
nice.
I'm over the threat response team. I've got a great group of guys. I've got a couple of real hard hitters that are just they've been in the industry. They know how to do the work. They can slog through it. I got a couple of up and comers. They're hungry. They want to get in and get a bite of it. And so I'm blessed with a good team. I'm very much a team player. My management style is very much like the Marine Corps. It's leadership from the front. I get down in the trenches with them every day. I'm doing the job with them. We're going through the security tools. We're looking at the events. We're doing some really great stuff with, I guess, kind of forward thinking, forward moving. We're looking at some of our threat intelligence. So we'll look at, say, for instance, our WAF, our web application firewall. And we'll look at the IPs that are hitting it and failing to get in. And we'll go and we'll research those IP addresses. And then we'll take those IP addresses to find their ASN. And then we'll look at the ASN and do an evaluation of the entire ASN. And if we find that the whole thing is full of Tor exit nodes and residential VPNs and other kind of nefarious use cases, we'll block the whole ASN. Yeah. So we're slowly taking away bits and pieces of the infrastructure that the bad guys, if you will, use to come after us. So it's very forward thinking, and we've got a lot of support from the CISO there on that.
Excellent.
He's a big proponent of us getting in front of the ball, and not being reactive. We don't want to be reactive security. We want to be proactive security and go after it and get in front of it and start taking away their avenues of approach, making it difficult for them to come in the front door to begin with, and then that makes our tools all the more effective.
That's awesome. What's it like building out the team for the first time?
I love it. I love it. It's a lot of work. I put in some serious hours. I'm on call pretty much 24/7. I'm the backup for everybody. So if somebody can't do what they need to do, then I get the call in the middle of the night or whenever. So the CrowdStrike incident, I went through that.
2 a.m.
We've had a couple of, I was actually up at 1. My machine went down at 10. I was already away from it at that point that night. And I think about midnight's when we started getting reports from India that there were outages. And then, very quickly I was on by 1. We actually had a solution by 2.
Oh, yeah.
The problem was that, like with most big companies, we use encryption. And so when you have to reboot on an encrypted machine, you have to decrypt the machine manually.
Yeah.
So we had to go through all of that. So that was not a fun time. That took us a bit of time to overcome. But the team building side of it, though, is a lot of fun. Like I say, I've got some really great guys. The opportunities are there. I enjoy their company. They're genuinely good people. They're dedicated. There's always growing pains.
Of course.
Every business, everything you do has got growing pains, and this one's no different. But we're are very rapidly moving through the maturity model and getting into, like say that, maybe the level 3, level 4 range on some of our initiatives. We've got a few others that we're still building up to speed on, but I think the environment's right for it. I think we've got the right people in place. I think that we've got the right opportunities, and I know that the company is focused on it and dedicated on it as well. They're willing to put their money where their mouth is and get in and do the work. I mean, it's not carte blanche. I wish I could just say, hey, we can spend what we want, but who's got that luxury? Nobody that I know.
I was about to say, no one in the private sector.
yeah, right. So yeah, it's a good team. It's a good environment. I'm very happy there. And like I say, the work is just ridiculously enjoyable. I really love what I'm doing. I can't lie about that.
What's been your favorite part thus far?
Oh goodness. I think it's getting the some of the forward proactive stuff that we're doing. Also getting to go in and kind of do our own internal pen testing against our own stuff. We're doing a lot of we'll pull down the ntds.dit, the password hash file from AD, and we'll go try to crack it and just see what we can get into.
Yeah.
To find out, are we actually doing strong security on our passwords? Is it working? We've got a lot of support in that. The CISO, when I came on board, he wanted us all to at least have some basic level of penetration tester red team experience. So like the first thing he did was have us all do, oh my gosh, what is the cert?
There's too many certs. I just can't keep track of them. There's hundreds.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of this right now. I'm drawing a complete blank. But
That's right.
It immediately has to do a certification though in one of the bigger pen test certs. It was more of a knowledge based cert, which I'm honestly not a huge fan of. I don't like Trivial Pursuit that much.
Yeah.
But I would have preferred it to been more of a hands-on course for everybody. But I think it was ideal in the idea getting across what he wanted to get across, which was the methodology and thought process of approaching it from the attacker's perspective. And that's something I know that y'all do very well.
Oh, yeah?
I've had a lot of conversations around that. I know. So yeah, that was a very positive thing. Bringing that on and getting to do that, and getting the whole team involved in that. So now when I throw out a term or a concept, they understand what it is, and so it's really helped us to move forward as a team with that idea of being kind of aggressively defensive, if you will.
Best defense is a good offense, as they always say.
I believe so. Yes. Yep. I just have to hold them back, make sure they don't try to counter hack. We don't do that. That's not part of the game plan.
Not yet. No, just kidding.
No.
I was gonna say this. People don't realize how vital some of those tax documents can be too.
Yes.
Because you guys help a lot of big companies with their taxes and that kind of stuff. That kind of data can be invaluable.
Our data.
It's a pretty big target.
Our data is definitely a target. And that's why they put what they do into protecting it. They brought on a very professional team. They brought in all the right people within the last 2 years. I would say they brought in a very, very good team and built cybersecurity. Basically, rebuilt it from the ground up with professionals, and that trend's continuing to go forward. So we've had some really fantastic luck there, and we're making the right moves. The company is definitely going in the right direction as far as security. We're definitely maturing up. A lot of the tedious stuff we have to finish out. Documentation, things like that are very important, but they're the ad nauseum, the tedious part of the job we have to deal with. But that part's getting built out. But we're very, very, very quickly advancing in the proactive aspect of security. So. I think that's the big win for us is that.
Absolutely. And then out of curiosity, do you have any certs on mind that you're studying for, or they think might be beneficial?
Stuff I'm working on right now. I would absolutely love to get into the SANS cloud security course. They've got a fantastic. It covers your three big cloud providers simultaneously. So I think that would be fantastic. I'm doing a little bit of work in, of course, we're doing Hack the Box to kind of stay stay kind of relevant in those terms. So we get to go out and practice some of our skills, pen testing skills on a nice friendly target. And then the other, we've looked at some of the Microsoft Azure stuff. All that's changing. Intra, that. They change stuff so often, so fast.
True.
Trying to stay on top of that's been difficult. So I wouldn't mind looking into that as well. So that's kind of future direction for me, is really looking at securing up our cloud presence more, understanding that better. We've got some really, really talented guys on that side that are doing a great job, but I don't believe in ever stopping your learning process. If you don't stay current and stay relevant and stay on top of the trends, then I think you're absolutely falling behind.
Very
it's
true.
not even that you're staying still; you're getting left behind by the industry. So
True.
I'm a big proponent of that. So that's my future plans right there as far as certifications go, and then. I've got some private venture stuff I'm looking into as well that I'm looking to add to my repertoire. I'm not quite ready to announce it yet, but
We can have you on again and talk about that in the future.
I will let you know when I get ready to do that. That would be fantastic. I'd enjoy that.
And then what do you like to do outside the office?
Again, I'm kind of I've got a few hobbies. I'm a little one-dimensional in that security is kind of who I am. It's who I've always been. I guess I took the whole Boy Scout thing and be prepared a little too much to heart, but. Yeah. So a lot of my life's been dedicated to security. I've done pretty much every aspect of it. I started off in physical security. I did security for the Marine Corps. I did security after I got out of college. Now I'm doing digital security. So, but outside of that, I do some martial arts. I started off with that when I was about 10. I got into judo. I did a Kodokan judo. I fought with that all the way through the Military World Games.
I think you're telling me you're at MMA as well.
I did some professional MMA.
How did you get into that? That's
honestly,
neat.
it was. I kind of fell into it. I've been doing mixed martial arts, so I started in judo at 10. I started into karate at 13. I got into boxing. I got into Western wrestling, grappling in general. And then a guy came up one day and was like, "Hey, man, I've got this fight promotion I'm doing, and how would you like to get paid to come out and fight for us?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I get paid instead of having to pay to go fight?"
Yeah.
Okay, cool, let's do it. And so I ended up in Amarillo, Texas, and this this kind of podunk, little. I think Tri-State Fairgrounds at one of their big, show barns or something. They had this arena built, and I got in there and fought my first fight. I won. It was a lot of fun, so I stuck with it.
What was it like? Do you remember the final move that won you the match? Or
I ended up putting a guy in a leg triangle. Sengakujime is what they call it, but it's a leg triangle. Basically, you're strangling them with your legs.
Yeah.
It's I've got a picture of it actually floating around somewhere on the social media. I've got a picture of that one. I think I've got a picture of another one I won with a standing arm bar. It was
nice.
It was a nice photo op. It was completely happenstance, but it was a good still shot from the video. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was fun, it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it when I did it. It was a good time. It was, a lot of what I did martial arts back then was for myself. It was something I got into, when I was younger, and I was a lot smaller. I was a small kid, and I think I graduated high school. I was like 5'7", 125. I was a little guy, and so a lot of the big team sports, football obviously wasn't my thing. I played for a while. I was getting killed by these guys, these huge guys. So I was like, this isn't for me. And I was also young for my class. Like I was an August birthday, so I was barely 5 when I got into kindergarten, and a lot of my friends were 6 or approaching 6 very rapidly. So I was kind of young too, small. So martial arts appealed to me. I got into it. I had family that had done it before I did, and so got into it. Again, started mixing it up at about 13. I was doing judo and karate both, and back then it was like the early UFC days. So I actually had thought about putting in back then it was a VHS tape. That's dating myself. For UFC, because I was like, I can do that. These guys are great, and I kind of let my dad talk me out of it. He was like, Nah, you don't want to do that. Those guys aren't going anywhere. Of course, they're all like millionaires now. But
So how many MMA matches did you do? What was it like traveling? What was it like?
Professionally, I think I only did like five professional matches. I did a bunch of amateur stuff, a lot of amateur stuff, and a couple of pro-am fights where it was no record. There was no record of it as far as it wasn't official fights, because you were either a pro fighting an amateur or something like that, or I was an amateur fighting a pro. It was fun. I traveled, just in the States. I didn't really go out of country with it. I fought in Colorado. I fought,
really?
Fought around Texas. I fought around. I got paid to go to some different promotions.
That's pretty cool.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was enjoyable. I like to travel, so that was fun. And getting to do what I love was fun at the time. It was good times.
Did you fight in an octagon, or what was the environment like?
Those were back in those days. So again, dating myself, I got in when it was called pancration,
really?
and in Texas, the rules were no gloves, no padding, but you had to do open hand strikes like to the head. You couldn't punch to the head; you had to use open hands.
Really?
In the early days, and then from there it moved into being pro MMA. So the state got a licensing board, allowed MMA into the state professionally. I got my license, and it was fought in a boxing ring.
What was it like getting a license? Is it difficult or
not really?
It's not as dramatic in the movies where you got to fight the board or anything.
No. Getting a license was really mostly a medical checks. You have to see an ophthalmologist. You can't see an optometrist. It must be an ophthalmologist to make sure you don't have like a detached retina. They give you a good.
Really?
They look for pugilistic injuries. Blood test, all that kind of stuff. To make sure that you're not carrying around a disease or something, a bloodborne disease that they don't. You're probably going to bleed in the ring.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that difficult to get the license. I fought some great fights with some good people.
Kind of a weird random question. Do you have to pay for that license or the process? Or
it's like $65 or something. It's not much.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
do you get a cool license to put in your wallet or no?
It's just a little paper card. Yeah, it wasn't anything really super cool.
Okay.
They're not that sophisticated.
Not laminated. You can just wipe that out. Okay.
No. Unfortunately, no. But yeah, it's every professional fighter in Texas has to have one. You have to be licensed to fight in Texas in a legal match. I mean, there's illegal matches around that you can get into, but you don't want to really do that. But the pro shows are, they've got a doctor on hand. They've got, it's all very defined. Like the Texas board specifies very specifically what this fight is. They have to be present for the fight.
Really?
Yep. And the referees are licensed referees. Most of them came over from boxing and moved over to MMA and every once in a piece of the pie. There's a lot of money in it. Dana White obviously has done very well with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And everybody wants a little piece of that pie. So, but they've come in. Like I said, I fought all over. I fought in Plano a couple times. Events called the Inferno. Of course, we've also had UFC over at the. I didn't fight in UFC, but UFC came to town and fought over at the American Airlines Center. We've had some local fights as well. So it's the culture here is strong. There's a lot of good fighters out of Texas. Some of the big names in the UFC have come from Texas. I've had a chance to meet and fight with some really fantastic people. I'm kind of a nice guy though. I don't like making people angry in the ring. I'm like, you may have a chance to hurt me. I don't really want you to take that opportunity.
Right?
Like, let me tap. No, you don't have to break my arm.
What was your favorite part about it? The whole experience?
Man, that's a hard call. I just like doing what I love. I like going out and having an opportunity to do it and showcase it. And for me, I guess is the crowd. The crowd was such a huge part of that. It's amazing how much that impacts you. I've had friends that fought for the very first time, and they get out there and the crowd's roaring and the music's playing and the special effects are going off and everything, and they're just in a daze almost. They're just like, oh my gosh, this is so much stimulation. Like, there's so much hitting me and so much adrenaline. Once you've kind of gone through it though, the adrenaline kind of goes away a bit. So
I'm
a people person. I like to interact with the crowd. I'm slapping hands and kissing babies, and, getting in the ring and just having a good time with it. So,
what was the biggest downside or something that you really didn't like at all? Or and then what did it surprise you or?
I didn't much care for people bleeding in my face.
Well, yeah, that's a little downside.
Yeah. That happened a couple of times. You open somebody up and then they end up on top of you, and it's like, oh God, get off me with your biological body parts. Ugh, get it? Yeah. It wasn't fun. That part wasn't very enjoyable, but the fights were great. I didn't really, I never really had any bad injuries or anything out of them. I had a few times I got a little roughed up a little bit, but it's just part of the, par for the course. If you're physical in any kind of physical thing, you're eventually going to wear for it. So, luckily I was pretty good at protecting myself. I didn't get a lot of concussions. That was my only real fear, was, protecting my brain. That's what I get paid for. So
Makes sense. Yeah.
I kind of didn't want it messed up. Marine Corps kind of beat up my body a little bit. And I was okay with that, but the brain had to be protected. So I got lucky that I didn't have any real significant head trauma.
Is that why you chose to walk away from it, or because do you have a goal to go full pro, or have that be your main source of income, or just more of a hobby?
I never did. I was a little, again, if I'd have got into it back in the early UFC days, UFC 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range with the guys that were my age, then yeah, it would have been something I might have pursued possibly. At the age I got into it, it was more like a paid hobby. Yeah. It was like I can pay to go to tournaments and pay to travel to go to those tournaments, or I can get paid to go do that. Like they'll pay for all my travel, pay for my time there, give me money on top of it. If I win, I get extra money. I'm like, well, cool. I'd rather get that. So
win-win.
Yeah, I'd like to say it was following a big dream or anything, but it was just kind of like kind of selfish. I was like, I just don't want to spend money to pay to go fight. Don't pay me to do it. So yeah, let's do that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a good time. It led me some interesting directions. I bounced for years after that. I think I bounced for about 10 years as a second job. Off and on at different times. Yeah, I've been on most of Dallas.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I learned a lot from it. I pivoted all that experience, everything. I guess when my daughter was born, I really started thinking about things from a perspective of, okay, this has been about my life and about my aggrandizement, my own ego. When she was born, I started thinking in terms of what do I need to teach somebody else? Like, what do I want her to know to protect herself? And that led me to understand, there's other people out there that need that. So I've been a volunteer instructor for years doing self-defense for women and children.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of just a labor of love. It's something it fits right into the security glove for me, though. It's just a extension of that. So, and I do a lot of non-traditional stuff. Like I'm doing bodyguard work. I did a course. It was a counter abduction course. So we learned all the stuff like how to get out of handcuffs and break zip ties and duct tape and how to get out of a trunk of a car and all this weird stuff. And so I teach that to people because I'm like, you know what? You might actually end up in a situation that you need this. I may not, but you might. So. Sure. I'd rather pass it on and teach them and kind of teach them about security culture and build that idea with them. So everything kind of rolls back to that idea of security. And when I talk about information security and talk about security, when I talk to a new potential employee, I always ask them the question, like, do you do security or are you security? Because if you're not security, you're going to struggle. True. Because it's security is one of those things that's just a part of you. You have a security mindset and a security culture. Yeah, it's all the time.
And do you still like to hit up the range?
Oh, I love to. I love to shoot. Oh, yeah. I still love to shoot. That's again going back to that. Yeah. I do enjoy shooting. I teach marksmanship to my students. It's part of the courses that we do. We do marksmanship instruction. I like to shoot just for fun. I'll go out and shoot paper all day long and have just a ball doing it. I think it's just funsies.
What's your favorite thing to shoot lately?
Ooh,
it's hard question.
I think just for fun. I mean, there's no practical purpose for it, but I still love shooting full auto.
Of course.
That's just fun. I think the most fun gun that I ever shot was like a 1928 Thompson.
Oh, really?
45, fully automatic. Nice. I had a friend that had a couple of them, and
a Chicago typewriter.
Oh yeah, it was fun. That was a fun gun to shoot.
Are they as heavy as they look?
They're pretty heavy. What's the really heavy one though was the BAR, the fully automatic 30-06. I think was a beast. He also had an MG34, I think, German belt-fed machine gun, like Saving Private Ryan. He had one.
Buzzsaw.
Yes. That was an 8mm machine gun, and it was ridiculous. It was every bit as insane sounding as what it sounded like on Saving Private Ryan, like when the beach scene and everything, where they're just mowing them down. That's what that sounds like.
The rate of fire is insanely fast.
Ludicrous. And that gun just screams kill. That's all that gun screams. Like if somebody were going to convince me that there was a gun that was only for killing people, that would be it. I would say, okay, maybe we don't need that one around. But
I can't imagine what those things go for a transferable one in the United States. That's got to be easy six figures.
Ludicrous.
Like I was looking at
ludicrous.
Every once in a while, a window shop, I'll go online and be like, what's this fall I'll go for? It's like, well, transferable MP40 from World War II, those are going for like minimum $45,000 plus all the tax stamp and the sales tax.
This guy he was a collector, and he had one of every U.S., Russian, and German World War II small arm.
Really?
Up to a M250 caliber, the 30 caliber belt-fed machine gun like we use, the Russian 7.62 by 54 with the flat round plate on top. I forget what, what that model is, but if you see one, you know what I'm talking about. It's a weird-looking gun. A Bren gun with the magazine on top. I mean,
Japanese.
No, his was the Bren. That was the English one, I believe. I believe the Bren was English. Yeah, Bren was, but the Japanese had one too.
Or is the magazine
with the magazine was on the top. Yeah, yep, sure did. So he was a collector and a connoisseur. I don't know what he had done for a living to get where he was, but he had an impressive collection. I mean, the Stens, what were the old the 45s the GIs carried in the tanks. The grease gun. Yeah, the grease gun. Yeah, it was like M2 or something.
One of the coolest things General Motors ever made.
Yep.
I think the cost of the U.S. government was like, because again, at the time, the Tommy gun was so expensive, or the M1 Thompson, it's like, what is it, $450 back then to the U.S. government? Then General Motors comes along, hey, we'll have the stamped sheet metal, grease gun. It's like about $30. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yep, that sounds like a win to me.
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, his collection was impressive, and he let people shoot them. So as long as I bought the ammo, I got to shoot. So
that's awesome.
Of course, back then it was cheaper too. This has been years ago.
That's very true. Well, you can get old Milsurp 8mm for nothing back in the day. Like Milsurp ammo used to be, or military surplus, to spell it out the acronym again. It used to be so cheap back in the day. Yeah,
I mean, I can remember not that many years ago being able to buy 1,000 rounds of 5.56, just ball for like $125.
Jesus, 125?
Yeah,
it's nothing.
I miss those days.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
I miss those days.
With world demand, I don't think this price is going to go down for a long time, unfortunately.
No, not at all.
Would you ever want to buy a machine gun?
Oh yeah, I would definitely.
Which one do you want? So many good ones.
Man, you're not lying. I mean, if I had unlimited budget, I'd have an M193. I'd have a minigun.
Yeah.
If I had unlimited budget. If I'm talking actually a budget gun, I would probably go with like a submachine gun, probably one of the 9mm variants. Something suppressed and the MP. What's it?
MP5.
MP5. Yeah. MP5D. I think is the short integral suppressed one. I'd love something like that. That'd be a fun.
Those are so
fun
much
one
fun.
to
There's
shoot.
no recoil for an M. Of all the things Germany's made throughout the years, got the 911. They got the MP5. It's the best. One of the best machine guns I've ever shot was a suppressed MP5. It's almost like a toy. Like no recoil. You stay on target so easily. It's so smooth. That roller delay blowback. I mean, that is an engineering feat of genius.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The downside is everyone knows that. And because that law had to be registered with the U.S. government, manufactured before 1986, so supply is nothing, relatively speaking. So like, if you want to buy a transferable MP5 right now, you're talking $60,000.
Oh yeah.
It's like, gosh, dang it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So at which point do you just start a gun company and just make it yourself?
Hey,
but then again,
it sounds like a business opportunity.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about the random inspections and all the extra paperwork, and they have to make a profit, which
sure,
it's not easy these days.
That's a fact.
But like. Yeah, it's funny. HK will always come out with a new product, and everyone goes, "We kind of like the old one. Just give us that." Like,
right?
It was just perfection off the bat.
Right. What were the what's the local range there in the colony? I forgot the one that they're
the way that I use for work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, rifle gear.
Yeah,
that was a good one. I like that one.
Yeah. Their sub guns are pretty nice. I forget what they're made in Switzerland. I want to say.
Oh, B&T.
Yes,
that's a good brand.
Yeah.
They've been around forever, but I've only just recently, past couple of years, started renting those for customer events.
Yeah.
And man, what was it? The APC 9 was the one we rented last time. So it's a full auto 9mm submachine gun. It is so much fun to shoot.
And those were the blow through suppressors on this too. Those are really sweet.
Those are really nice. It's definitely on the vision board. I want to get one of those one of these days.
I looked for this. I found they make a semi-auto version. They sell to civilians, but I'd prefer to have the full.
It's still pricey
version.
though. It's like
they're pretty
even
pricey.
A semi-auto. Like I think was it $3,200 plus a suppressor plus the tax the tax stamp for the SBR or short barrel rifle, and then the tax stamp for the suppressor, then the sales tax.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it adds up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Then do you want to go proprietary mags, or do you want the Glock lower where you can use Glock mags?
Right.
It's like. The factory mags are good, but they tend to break with the feed lips for the proprietary mags.
Right.
So it's like, do you use Glock, which feeding issues after 32 rounds, depending on who you talk to.
Right. Right.
Says, wise man once said, "There's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs." And the older I get, the more true I tend to find that.
That's a fact. The world is a funny shade of grays.
Right. It'd be great to get a good old Ma Deuce too, but where do you shoot it?
Exactly. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to? Yeah. That one. Good luck. That's,
Even semi-auto, those things are going for like $19,000-$20,000.
oh
like,
yeah. Yeah,
man.
and then you're talking how many, $5 a pop. For,
That's true.
for old, mil spec ball or mil surplus ball ammo.
Precisely. It's like, it's like before you know it, one trip to the range is like a month's salary. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. There's the trade-off. Do I eat this month or do I go?
Oh, yeah. Priorities.
Yeah, we're going to the range then.
yeah, exactly.
Skipping lunch.
Oh yeah. Well, I skip. Yeah, it'd be worth it.
There you go. Very nice.
Oh yeah. Have you thought about getting a Class 3 weapons yet, or thinking about getting a suppressor anytime soon?
Man, the time's right.
They're getting quicker now with the paperwork for an individual truck.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Is the individuals going through in weeks now. It seems
I know
like.
someone who got it in 3 days.
Wow.
There's one story of a guy who actually got the approval on the way home. So for people who aren't into guns, I mean, with the U.S. government, with the laws and regulations, with the NFA Act 1934, it used to be very much a physical process. So in order to get a suppressor, if your state allows it, which 42 states do, well, it would take about 9 months because the paperwork was archaic, and I suspect they also didn't like us getting freedom. But I only partially digress. Take about 9 months. Now they streamline the process. If you're an individual, some people are getting days, weeks. I still recommend going through a trust. So if you pass, family easily gets items and the government doesn't. But a trust is still taking about 4 to 6 months. So it's not as bad as it used to be.
Yep.
And they got some great technologies with the blow through. I know Surefire as well as SIG have some really good cans coming out lately. Pricey, but and then all 3D printed. That's even cooler. You get all the unique shapes, and the amount of technology in manufacturing is fascinating to see how much it's come along in that industry as well.
Oh yeah. Yep. Very interesting. Very, very interesting world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, time's definitely right though. If you're trying to get one right now, would be the time to do it, because I remember looking into it before and it was months and months and months. I mean, I've talked to people that had like 18-month waits.
Oh yeah, it was insane. Then you used to actually, I'm a little part of me maybe nostalgia, but like nowadays you don't even get a tax stamp anymore, because the law is you're paying for a tax stamp because it's a taxable item.
They don't do that anymore?
No, it's just electronic. So it used to be you get the paperback. It was a physical stamp from the U.S. Treasury Department for $200.
Yeah.
The only time inflation helped us, because that law was passed in 1934.
Right.
I did the numbers and
Right.
like, well, if you account for inflation, it's equivalent to like $4,800 now.
Yeah.
So that's why it killed those for decades. It killed the products, because the suppressor back then was $7. They were putting $200 tax on it.
Yeah.
They just didn't want you to own it.
Right.
So it's like, that's one time inflation worked for consumers in their favor.
That's a fact. I think they're still kicking themselves for that.
Yeah, I suspect. We'll see. Maybe, hopefully by the time this video is ready to upload, maybe the law will change and we'll be able to buy it like a standard 4473 background check paperwork. Who knows?
Well, a lot of countries look at us as being backwards because it's like driving a car without a muffler. Running straight pipes. It's exceedingly loud. It's obnoxious. It's damaging to your hearing.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you?
It's less accurate.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Hiram Maxim's the same patent, the same guy who invented both the muffler as well as the suppressor.
Yeah.
It's like, the same guy. But yeah, it's like, it's just like short-barreled rifles. There's no reason, in my opinion, there shouldn't be a reason for any of those taxes or extra paperwork or anything like that.
Agreed.
But it's like, that's why I tell people when it comes to logic and guns, gun laws, you can think about it all day long, but more often than not, it's like oil and water. You usually don't mix more often than not.
Right. Right. Yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as a common sense gun law.
No, but I was gonna say we definitely got to hit up the range sometime. It's been way too long.
I'd love that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it, man.
Nick, I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, don't forget to take the time to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and have a great day. Topping Talks.